questions before I get started, or anything like you want me to chat with you about before we get going?
I don't think so.
No? All right, so the two things I'm going to kind of just touch base with, I've got two kind of handouts here. One is like kind of talk a little bit about why writing is important, and super easy, it's be like 2 minutes. And then I'd like to spend more of the time just talking about how to do it, like how to do it. And really, if we don't get to all of these things in here, they're all so easy for you to read through and kind of think about. There's nothing in here that, by me being a teacher, that you magically can't do at home. So that's really like, I think people should think, oh, I can't teach writing, or I can't. Yeah, you can totally do it. And I think it's just really having the tools in front of you or in your home, and just actually being here, just having a mindset of like just cultivating, what can I do to cultivate a more writing environment in my home. So my first question is, are you writers?
Yes.
You are? Or do you write much? Okay. And how about you? You do too. Okay, that's awesome. I think that'll probably be a lot easier for you, even just thinking about that, because if you're writing and you're providing writing opportunities for them at home, like I think that's a big deal. So I think on the first page, which I talked about, like why write, I think there's a huge connection with reading and writing, and the fact that encouraging writing skills in your kids is a really an easy way to kind of set them up for success. I think we all are hoping that our kids, especially in the early elementary years, are becoming literate adults as readers and writers. And I think by providing them with tools and making it accessible for them and making them feel comfortable at whatever stage they're at, I think is really important to help them feel successful with it. And when they start feeling successful, they're going to just start going more and more and wanting to do it on a regular basis. And there's just little tips of just helping them through that that's important. So the first one, it says here, writing is good for mental health and capacity, and I think is the idea that you go to therapy, if you're going somewhere, a lot of times they'll say, do you journal? Are you journaling? And I think for us to be able to, and Colleen, you mentioned this too, is to be able to just, it's a different process, putting your thoughts on paper. It's different than typing, it's different. It's just being able to write on a regular basis is really something that emotionally will help you. It helps you kind of think about yourself and clarifying your thoughts. Sometimes it's a way to work on emotions, and especially at this age, it's a really good, it's a skill for them to be able to work through that. I have some ideas for journaling that when we get into the second set, I'll show you some ideas of being able to make that kind of come to life. Another thing is writing strengthens executive functioning. Executive functioning, do you guys know executive functioning? Okay. So the idea that, the mental processes that go through for them to be functioning, paying attention, juggling multiple tasks at the same time, planning, which a lot of planning goes into writing, is that strengthening writing and executive functioning kind of simultaneously is really important. The third thing here is we as teachers on a regular basis, looking at their writing is a really easy way for us as literacy teachers to assess how they're doing with what we're teaching them, whether it's phonics or spelling or a specific writing skill. You can do the same at home by you looking at their writing at wherever they're at. Really can, if somebody says to you, how's my child doing at school? If you look at what they're writing, that really can give you a really good kind of take the temperature of where they're at. And reading that regularly can help you at home monitor where they're at in school. So it kind of helps you feel the pulse of where they're at. Obviously, the next one is talking about creating and cultivating creativity. Daily writing, kids are able to use their imagination. We do a lot with them, just giving them opportunities to write without really telling them what to write about. And I think that's a catch. That's something that really can kind of help them. And I've seen that with our students here, is being able to just give them the tools and the access to it, but not saying this is what you're writing. It's just what do you want to write about? You know, we're all the authors of our own stories, and being able to have that opportunity to write on a regular basis helps that. It kind of gives them agency so that they themselves can kind of be joyful about what they're writing, and you'll see that it makes a big difference in not only the volume but the content of what you're going to get, because we all have a story to tell, right? My mom's 99, and I keep telling her, Mom, I need you to get some of your life stories written down, because when you're not here, they're gone, you know? So I think that to keep that idea that your kids have so many stories to tell, and just based on you're all living very full lives with experiences, and giving you kids opportunities to write about those, is just another way to keep their creativity going. I also think that when we have kids write, it gives an opportunity to reflect, which is also connected to metacognition, and getting kids to be able to think about their thinking, and it's an invaluable learning tool, really. Writing every day also can increase their self-awareness and help them learn from everything that's happening in their lives. It also can build confidence, believe it or not, for them to be doing that. So, any questions so far? Because those are kind of just a couple quick, easy things of like the why. So I can share with you, and Colleen, just jump in whenever you're ready to. Is kind of like the hows. So this pamphlet here, what I'm talking about, this packet here really kind of just gives you a lot of really easy ways to kind of make writing happen on a regular basis. I think most houses that we go in, people have a craft center with anything that you can do to do crafts, and you don't have to change that many more things to it to make it writing center for the kids as well. Things like, I got these on Amazon, and these have been such a huge hit, just like tiny notebooks or tiny pencils. The kids, I have tiny clipboards that they're using. And what I'm getting from the kids with this, like these are this is one of my second graders. And I kind of am emulating like what a real book has. So if she's going to turn this into a book, it's like, make a dedication page, have a title page, and number your pages. And it's so much fun for me to see this little girl is writing just fall poems, but she's been working really hard and writing, like, look what she's doing. This is during our free writing time. She's writing when it is fall. If you look up in the night sky on the 29th, you'll see the harvest moon with the symbols for the harvesting crops. For some people, it happens on Fridays in fall. And then, so she keeps starting things when it is fall. When it is fall, you'll be able to rake up leaves in big piles, and you'll be able to jump in them. When it is fall, Halloween, so you're getting this whole repetition, but she's so proud of it, and she's adding illustrations. Another student is writing about, her book is called The Talk-A-Lots. And because adults talk a lot, and so she's got this whole story going about the talk-a-lots, and so she's doing something different with it. But I think it's the fact that she's got this tiny little notebook. She's like just super excited. So pencils, staplers, tabs. We have the notebooks for the kids, for the primary kids that we're using, and this is in Lit Skills. It's different. It's like more of a, like there's different space for writing, but I've given them tabs. Like these things are magic. Like I've let them decide how they're going to divide their sections up, and there's one first grader has a place where he traces fingers. So you have to have a code to get in, and then so he thinks that by having, every time he opens the book, he presses the code, and like he doesn't think anybody else can get into his notebook. And I'm like, I got him, I won, like it's great. So, but he just keeps wanting to do that. So it's just little strategies like that'll get them going. There's even some, you can print out. Colleen and I found these. Like these are just off the internet. You just like to make. But if you have these accessible in your section, like you're creating like a space, I think you'll see that you'll get more from them. The other thing, and that's why I asked you if you guys are role models of writing, that's a really important thing too. I think if you are writing and you show them that you're writing, whether it's in your job or what you're doing, is making yourself a role model. We all try here, if we're writing, we want the kids to be writing, or the kids are writing, we want to be writing along with them to share what we're doing right along with them. So if we have like I call around the campfire, we kind of talk out what we're going to write before we write. I'm doing the same thing as they are. And I think that's important. I mean, if you made a night once every other couple of weeks, whatever, that you turn the screens off and we all write, you know, it's you're showing them that it's an important part of your life, and for two of you, like it sounds like it already is. So I think it's great. But I had one instructor at one point talk to me about how when you're sharing your writing, it's like putting your heart out on your hand, and you're being really vulnerable, and it's hard. And so I feel strongly that if we're expecting kids to do this, like we need to do it along with them, and I think that's super, super important. Providing authentic opportunities is another thing, like having them have a purpose for what they're writing. Like we had 2 students yesterday talk about they missed one of the teachers that has moved to Canada, and can we write a letter to her? I was like, what skills today? Guess what we're doing? I'm going to teach them, and I taught them about what it means to write a letter and the whole structure of it. And so if you didn't want to write a letter to that teacher, who do you want to write a letter? And they didn't even think about it. They were like, oh, let's write a letter. Like, that's awesome. So this little girl wrote to her Aunt Leona. This little girl wrote to her uncle. A couple of them wrote to the teachers, but they were writing, and it was phenomenal. And they didn't even think about it because it was authentic. So, making grocery lists. If you're going grocery shopping, like help them make the list. Help them, put whatever it is. If you're, just making that connection between the real world and writing is just, I think, those are probably some of my most important things for you to be doing. We all know that the best activity to improve writing is reading. So, finding their books and looking at the characters, and maybe they can write a book using a character, emulating something that's happening in the story. A lot of these kids are really into graphic novels right now, so even in your area, like if you had paper that looks like this, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get them to kind of be thinking about, okay, my version of a graphic novel, and it's just kind of catching them, getting them. A lot of us are list keepers, so even if, especially in the early grades, if they're just make your list, what are you going to do today? Make your list and we can check it off. It's like the book Frog and Toad. If you read Frog and Toad, there's a book called The List, and it's like, wake up, cross it off, and but that's an easy way for them to be writing. Another strategy that we use is called bubble maps, and I have that page there, but this is a strategy if your kids are writing and if they're journaling of any kind. Yeah, you can look at that one over there. So you take an idea and you write it, and then you kind of circle it, and I gave you instructions in here, but the idea for me to show you this is a second grader that didn't know what he wanted to write about, so we made a bubble map, and I just kind of talked him through, think about anything and everything that you are thinking about. So he wanted to write about Hanukkah, so he put all of his ideas down here. We took a next step and color-coded them and then numbered them so that if he had to stop and come back to it, he would know where he was, and as he goes, he checked them all off. But just list, so from this came this. This is in September, so we've only had them for 3 weeks. Now, mind you, there's a lot of spelling errors, but that's not what we're later I've gone in, and if you can see, a couple weeks later, as we're learning our spelling rules, we went back through to see what words he's found that he needs. So it's kind of like he's drafting, and then I'm going back later, and I will use what he's written for some mini lessons moving forward, what they need. But just listen to this. It was a bright winter night on a street in Niwot where a greenhouse stood with brightly lit windows. Inside it was a beautiful and glimmering table. A glimmering table was set. A family was sitting at the table, and there were 2 kids, a mom and a dad. It was Hanukkah in the house. As a second grader, and that was just free. He was just writing what he wanted to write about, and I'm just super impressed with the idea of helping them brainstorm and get those ideas down is just a strategy that you can use with your kids to write. We talked about journaling. Let's see, what else do I have here for you? Collecting words. We read this book. These are 2 really great books. the word collector and the boy who loved words, like kids all love words, they love language. So, I mean, I think we all do, but just making that a part of your repertoire. If you're in the car, if you have a favorite word that you like what does that mean? You're like mellifluous or magnificent or fastidious. And if you start using it and then they start using it, it's going to show up in their writing, and it ends up just, you're developing vocabulary at the same time. What else? I think too, pictures, having photos, having them sometimes, whether it's a postcard or a postcard could also be something that you use for like an authentic writing, but birthday cards, thank you notes, like things like that. But even taking a picture, and they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, but just having them take a picture and have that be the springboard for what they're going to write about. Giving them sharing how you write in your profession. And I think the other thing I was going to say is I keep talking about a lot of narrative writing, but nonfiction writing is a really another easy way to kind of connect to their interests and having them write about it. Poems, thinking about it. They like songs, like Taylor Swift is so popular, and I guess what? She's a writer, and they probably even think about it that way. It's like every song that she's written, she's had to write. And then even movies, screenwriters, it's just, what kind of movie would you write? And maybe have them try to write a script for a play that they're working on with their friends. When they have a friend come over, you could have that become an activity that they do with their friends. You'll be surprised. I think they'll be excited to do it. And I think also, the last thing I'll say is just, I think it's important, along with the authentic piece of it, is just allowing some opportunities for them to publish it. So whether it's ending up being something that you give to a grandparent or something that they're sharing it out, we're happy if they do something at home to bring it here at school for them to share with us. For them to have a purpose and an audience to share their writing with, they're going to put a whole different level of meaning and understanding in what they're doing. There's also this little thing, these are story cubes. Colleen gave me these, you could talk to them about what those are, but this is a fun way for them to game if they're stuck with their writing, is that they can take some of these out and kind of roll them, and it'll give them an idea, putting it in order, giving them an idea of what to write about. And there's different levels for different grade levels, but the story cubes are actually a really fun little tool to use as well. What else? So those two, and I'll send this, but Stone Soup and Cyber Kids is just two websites that you can actually send things in, and they can publish them for you and turn it into a book, and it'll just help you figure out how to do that. So, Helen, do you have anything else you want to
No, it's excellent. There's so many.
I just think it's just make it fun. I think that you hook them into just making a part of what they're doing, and if stuff is available, you'll be surprised at what you'll get from them.
And I think when they have a genuine enjoyment of learning, it makes even the more structured tasks more approachable. It's just not as daunting when we write something that's more formal for class. And then you see the kids who enjoy writing, how it comes through, it seeps into their formal writing. Their hook is really interesting, even though they're writing about something more.
Because they're comfortable doing it. I think that's the whole part of it too. It's just making it so that it's not a chore, that it's something that they feel. And we don't really, at least in second grade, we're working on spelling, but there's still a lot of genetic, and then the first graders are working on that. It's still good. That's okay. We're going to get there. And I don't stop and correct everything to stop the creativity of their writing, because they're going to get there. This picture here, I don't think I'm showing you. This is cool. This is a first grader, so this was in his journal for me during this skill. He's just drawing some days. Sometimes just drawing, and drawing is fine. It's great. So this was in August, and wrote a tree, right? And he sounded it out. He was super excited for his exclamation points and things. And this is a month later. And so he wrote, apple tree. The tree has lots of leaves and elves. So it's just growth.